So we will start our session. My name is Lorraine Botha. I'm the newly elected chairperson for the standing committee for this portfolio. So pleased to meet you all. We will speak as we go along. We will have our one-on-ones and get to know each other. But for today, we are here to deliberate on your appropriation. I will give members in the chamber an opportunity to introduce, and then the members that are online, please then, it's your opportunity to introduce yourselves. I just want to say before we go that next to me I have Johan Kutsia, who is the procedural officer for the standing committee, and then the assistant standing committee procedural officer is Mfundo Matsapela. So thank you very much. And I saw Candace Morris, who will assist us with IT this afternoon. So members, with that said, the Lone Ranger in the chamber with me.
Chair, I can never be alone. You are in here with the department. Good afternoon to the officials, Minister. My name is Matlodi Maseko, and I'm also the member for the standing committee.
Those that are online, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, Minister, and colleagues. My name is Gillian Bosman, and I'm a new member of this committee.
Greetings, Chairperson, MEC, and all those present. My name is Pat Maran. I'm an alternate member of this committee.
Greetings, Chairperson, MEC, fellow MPLs and departmental officials. Also, good afternoon. I'm also a newcomer to this committee, having been asked to serve as a full member, and I also look forward to the engagement that we will have today and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I note that is our members online. Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm Anton Bedell, MEC for Local Government.
Good morning, honourable members. Afternoon, Graham Paulson, Head of Department.
Good afternoon, Chair and honourable members. Colin Dana, Head of Disaster Management and Fire Rescue Services.
Good afternoon, Chair and honourable members. Albert Lwengu, Policy and Strategy.
Good afternoon, Chair. Kamal Makan, Director Municipal Governance.
Good afternoon, Chair and honourable members. Ira Barnard, Municipal Monitoring and Support.
Good afternoon, Chair. Maurice Brandt, Municipal Infrastructure.
Good afternoon, Chair. Audrey Jacobs, Management Accounting.
Good afternoon, Chair members. Pavna Shilal Singh from Finance.
Honourable Chair and honourable members, Nozuko Zamklaka, Integrated Service Delivery.
Thank you very much. I'd like also to extend a hearty welcome to those members of the public who are joining us on this platform, as well as the members of media houses that are joining us on this platform. Members, in regard to putting this show on the road, just some rules of engagement this afternoon. Those members, especially who are online, I'd like to request of you to keep your mics mute, as well as your video cameras. When you are given the opportunity to speak, you may use both your video camera, you can put that on, as well as your mic. But if your connection is a bad connection, then I would suggest that your video camera off and that you just keep your microphones going. In regard to the deliberation on vote 14, that is now local government, we are going to use the budget book, the blue book, as we refer it to, as well as the annual performance plans. Now, members, in regard to the annual performance plan, you can refer your question out of your budget book to the annual performance plan, but I am not tabling the annual performance plan page by page. You may refer to it as the pages that you have prepared yourself on. And I take it that all members have prepared yourselves on the budget, on the content of this budget, as well as on the annual performance plan. Then in regard to our start, I will give an opportunity to the Minister as well as the HOD for some opening remarks. And then I will give an opportunity for members to pose a round of questions to the Minister or the HOD in regard to the opening remarks, together with the statements by both the accounting officer and the Minister in regard to the annual performance plan. Thereafter, I will table the budget, and I will, in regard to doing questions around the content of the budget, I will cluster some pages. Remember, we're starting on page 735. Members, I just said, please mute your microphones. If you are not speaking, mute your microphone. Thank you. So we will start on page 735 and we will go to page 767. The pages thereafter is all the annexures. I will cluster that together and give you an opportunity to pose your question accordingly. With that said, Minister, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, honourable members of the Standing Committee, our head of the department, and thank you for the opportunity. The Department of Local Government Appropriation Budget 2022-23 reflects its focus on policy interventions and align with the medium-term strategic framework, which is also in support of the Provincial Strategic Plan. To mention two examples, the department worked to support the joint district and metro approach, together with efforts to exchange citizen participation at the local level. Support of priority 1 to build a capable, ethical and developmental state, and the department focus on improving municipal governance and functionality together with disaster management support, infrastructure development and work done to support water and energy resilience, support the MTFS priority 2 for economic transformation and job creation. Honourable Chair, there are also new challenges to address. The Traditional Khoisan Leadership Act number 3 of 2019 came into effect 1st of April 2021. The Premier has assigned the responsibility of the Act to the Minister of Local Government. This means that the department will have to develop policy as well as appropriate provincial legislation. Chairperson and honourable members, the key focus of the Department of Local Government over the medium term will be to use its constrained budget for the maximum impact. As such, it is worth noting that we will continue to invest in, firstly, support interventions in local government to improve service delivery and governance. Secondly, project management support to the sustainable infrastructure development and financial facility, which we see as something very beneficial to future investment in municipalities. 3, and in order to strengthen our fire and rescue services, the department's fire strategy will continue to be supported, and then funding it's earmarked for the above mentioned responsibilities in relation to Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act. Chairperson, I thank you once again for the opportunity to engage with you as well as the Standing Committee on the appropriation bill for the Department for Local Government. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. HOD, anything you want to add, sir?
Chair, thank you, Honourable Chairperson. So I have just a couple of comments to connect with Minister. So obviously we have the changed economic environment And you can see that through this budget, we are looking for efficacies and efficiencies in the application of the department's mandate. On the other hand, we increasingly want to support municipalities. Municipalities are asking greater assistance, particularly with national and provincial government mandates in their geographic spaces. That's on the one side, and through the JDMA that the minister had made reference of, we're trying to collaborate with the three spheres of government, with other stakeholders to see, given the fact that our budgets are decreasing, how do we collaborate for greater efficiencies and efficacies in the delivery of national, provincial, and local government mandates. That's on the one side. So there's an increasing requirement for support and assistance and collaboration and facilitation by municipalities. On the other hand, there's increasing demand by citizens on municipalities to say provide additional services, provide greater access to services, and through various initiatives within the department, we are trying to facilitate that together with particularly the infrastructure department, but also to make services available to citizens in the various municipalities and obviously some districts. I think the last point that I want to raise is the minister has also referred to it, is the traditional Khoisan Leadership Act. And obviously, given the fact that there are now developments in terms of the commission that has been established, that those that want to apply for recognition can now commence for that process. There's awareness raising campaigns and so on. So in the same format and in the same view, the department must now increase its own capacity to begin to deal with the entire process, the rollout and the implementation of the Khoisan legislation as it has been enacted. Thank you very much, Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister and HOD and members. I just need to allude you, and I did not talk about it. You have the infographics in front of you in regard to what is the content of this budget. It's just in easier format to read. And then also those members that are online, please, if you want to make a point of order or you want to pose a question, please use the raise your hand function. Immediately after you have posed your question, please lower your hand. Members, with the introductory remarks of both the Minister and the HOD, as well as going to the APP, the statements by the Minister as well as the HOD, I am affording you an opportunity to pose a question. Members, I also want to ask, please work with me here. Not a long statement. Please get to your question. Time is always our enemy, so please work with me. Member Dugmore, I note your hand.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just want to check that I'm audible.
Indeed, you are.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, thank you to the MEC and the HOD for their inputs. Chair, just a few questions. I think I'm going to try and ask a lot of my questions to the MEC right up front, because I believe that will save time. And this links both to what the MEC said, plus issues in the APP, in the forward. Now, firstly, in regard to
I just check with you, Member Dugmore, if I can hold you. How many questions have you got prepared?
Well, on what the MEC has said, I've got about 5, but if you want me just to ask 2 and then the next member 2, then we can come back.
Okay.
But I have about, yeah, I'll ask 2 in the, yeah.
I'm giving you a first round for everybody of 2 questions. Thanks, Member Dugmore. Continue.
Yeah, thanks. Chair, we have noted, from what the MEC has said, as well as the contents of the budget, this additional responsibility which has now been assigned to local government, the issue of traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act. Now, Section 49 of the legislation refers to provincial houses of traditional and Khoisan leaders. and it says in 49.1 that provincial houses may be established by provinces in terms of provincial legislation and subject to the provisions of this act. So my question to the MEC is the MEC and the provincial government in support of establishing a provincial house for traditional and Khoisan leaders in the Western Cape? And if so, if he could just outline how he sees the process for this financial year unfolding. We see there is an amount, if I'm not mistaken, about 1.5 million allocated to this purpose. So the question really is, does the provincial government support the establishment of a provincial house? If so, could he outline the process and what he hopes to achieve this year and when that house will actually be established in his view? And if he doesn't support the establishment of the provincial house, if he could just say why not? And then I think the MEC and a lot of the documentation and also the overall budget that has been shared, points to a difficult economic climate for citizens generally. The poor, working class people, the middle class as well, taking a lot of strain in regard to prices of many goods and services. Now, in that regard, when it comes to local government is the sphere closest to the people, and clearly, the ability of people to, pay for water, electricity, and other services is critical for day-to-day survival. Now, I would like to ask the MEC and people in the department, what is their view at a policy level in regard to those municipalities in our province that have implemented credit control policies whereby, for instance, if someone is held by the municipality to be in arrears on their water account, for instance, and they then go to buy prepaid electricity, that municipality, say someone wants to go and buy 100 Rand worth of electricity, they have a certain amount deducted in regard to what they may owe the municipality in regard to water. So could I just ask, what is the view of the department in regard to municipalities who are doing that? And whether the department discourages that, and whether the department actually has a standard guideline in regard to credit control policy, particularly for the poor during the economic situation that we now face. Those are my first two questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Dugmore. You must work with me. Try the next round to get down to your question, not the statement, Member Dugmore. Thanks, Member Maran. I note you.
Thanks, Chairperson. Chair, I just want to check with you. And, I'm not saying you must basically run meetings the same as other committees. We have received the infographic budget summary. I just wanted to check after the questions in terms of the input of the MEC, whether there will be a presentation in terms of the budget. That's how we have received it in other committees, and afterwards we have then posted questions, but it's fine. I just wanted to check that one, but you can respond after I'm finished. I got 3 questions for Chairperson. The first one is that the MEC have indicated that this department is supporting the joint district model. There's gossip going around, and we don't want to listen to gossip, and wants to pose the question directly to the MEC that although the department is supporting the joint district model, if the Western Cape government as a whole, do they support the Western Cape government as a whole, whether they support the joint district model? Because there's gossip going around that the Western Cape government is not supporting this. Also, MEC, you have said basically that the responsibilities has been assigned to you in terms of the Khoisan and traditional affairs. And you've also said that this department should basically prepare policy in legislation that will guide basically these particular affairs. Whether you have started with that two processes, the legislation and policy? If not, why not? And if you have started, more or less, how long will it take place to finalize that particular issue? Because this issue of the Khoisan is coming for many, many years, and I think they're a bit impatient. And also, I don't think that they want a delay to finalize policy and legislation that will guide them. Then the last one, Chair, the credit control policies of the different municipalities and the Honorable Dakmo have touched on that particular one. And I remember, I'm not sure whether it was last year or the year before, we had a discussion about this particular issue within the committee, and there was a commitment made by the HOD saying that they will investigate whether that is legal. If someone, for instance, go and buys 100 Rand of electricity, then 90 Rand will be deducted for his municipal account that is in arrears, and he will only receive an amount of 10 Rands electricity out of that 100 Rand. Whether that particular investigation has been finalized, and what is the outcome, if finalized, what is the outcome of that investigation? Also, whether the Western Cape government support basically that type of credit control municipalities, credit control policies of the different municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Maran. I will respond to your first question later. I will just give an opportunity now for the Minister and the HOD to respond to the round of questions. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. To Honourable Dakmo, obviously we believe in the Constitution and we will follow the process. We support definitely that people must be able to practice their culture, who they are, etc. The Western Cape, it's something new for all of us, so we're busy with the process. National level, on a national level, they've started with the Commission to determine the status of the different Khoisan groupings, etc. within the province. And that's why we put money aside, because we need to get the legal framework in place. We've already started the RIA process with the Premier's office. And I think this is a discussion that and it's actually a journey that we will walk with the Standing Committee going forward. Then on the economy and the pricing, etc. That's something that keeps us all awake at night. This is our next disaster, is poverty, and how are we going to alleviate poverty? But Chairperson, this is one of those items. There's two policies within the municipality, and you cannot just talk about the credit control policy, because the municipality's got an equitable share policy as well. The basis of the equitable share policy is to see to it that people can have a dignified life within the municipal domain, the poorest of the poor. So that through that policy, you support households. They get, and the Constitution speaks of 5. We give 6 kiloliters. Some municipalities up to 10 kiloliters of free water, 50 units of electricity, sewage, etc. It's for free. And then you've got a credit control policy that needs to get the people who can pay to pay. If we don't have that discipline, all municipalities will go bankrupt. So then to connect that to the municipal systems, within municipalities, we must always remember we talk of spheres of government. There's 3 spheres of government, and municipalities determine that policy, and it's a lever that they use to get those who can pay to pay. That we must do more and keep track and follow the process and see to it that everybody's got the ability to have a dignified life, that's for sure. But we must also invest in different systems so that you can detect leaks, the war on leaks, for instance, because you will get to a household which indigent, but they use 21 kiloliters of water. Then something is wrong. And I think there we need to put in some more effort, because it takes too long to identify those kind of households. So there's work to do, but this is the 2 policies that that municipalities must be hands-on. And it's one of the things I've asked Salga, I've asked my own department in the training. That is two policies that we need to workshop with the councillors so that they understand it. The JDMA, to Honourable Marang, there's a cabinet resolution. Yes, the province support the JDMA model. And there's, yeah, I've already answered the question, but if you need more information, I've got Albert here who works on that. I've got my HOD, but I think it's a journey that we can walk with the standing committee as a single item because it's important, and we don't mind to do that. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
So thank you, Honourable Chairperson. So just once again to connect with Minister, the department just in relation to the credit control and the finances and the tariffs have done extensive work over the last while to do comparative analysis in terms of various policies amongst municipalities to understand the various tariffs. We've also done work around the basket of services to understand what's the cost of the services of a standard package of services in municipalities. We've categorized in high, medium, and low. So what is the cost of it, and did a comparison with that in all the municipalities. We've also done work on the impact, the level of resilience and buoyancies of the financial sustainability of municipalities in relation to COVID and the impact of the economy and the fact that people have lost their jobs. And we're also in a process of then do a comparison of the various credit control policies. We've done work around it. It has not been finalized. And also the services like refuse removal, what do people pay, to see whether we can't assist municipalities on the one hand to increase their sustainability, financial sustainability, but on the other hand to make it easier for citizens in those respective municipalities in those municipalities. I think Minister has answered around the Khoisan. We have approached the Department of the Premier to look at the gaps in the national legislation and to determine our own provincial legislation. As the Minister has indicated, there is a RIA process that we've asked the Department of the Premier to start with so that we can do that. The commission that has been appointed by the President is also visiting the province to launch the awareness campaign around the Khoisan and the application for recognition. And the other minister has spoken about the JDMA. And there's a good understanding between ourselves and the National Department around the functionality of the JDMA in the Western Cape province. Thanks, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister and HOD. Member Maran, I note that your hand is still raised. Is that a follow-up or is it a legacy hand? No one there. Member Maseko, thank you.
Thank you very much. It's just a follow-up from me, Chair. I think after elections, the like Minister was saying that the support that is needed for the councillors. I just want to find out, because now after the COVID-19 and the different outcomes of the elections with the coalition is going to be new systems that have to be in place, and there's going to be the dynamics within the council that is going to keep this department busy, I think, a lot of times. Now, I want to find out if the department foresee or already have got something that is like a performance indicators for the municipality, so that to catch the municipalities before things they go wrong, totally wrong, because at the end, the people that are going to suffer are those communities within the municipalities. And so far, the experience with the coalitions that have been there, it wasn't the good indication that things can go okay. So with that information, with the statistics that you have about what happened in the past, do you have something in place as you saw the results of the 18 municipalities that are in coalition? That's all from me, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Maseko. Member Danpo, your hand was raised. Okay, Member Dagmo,
Hello?
are you there?
Hello? Yeah, no, I'm here, Chair.
Are you wanting to follow up?
Well, it's basically the next two
The next-
questions that I have.
Okay, please just hold on. Let me just check with Member Maran. Member Maran, are you there?
Yes, Chair, and it
Are
seems
you
that,
wanting to follow up?
yes, I want to follow up, Chair.
Go ahead.
And I've heard the response by the MEC in terms of the two policies that the different council have. One is the credit control and also the indecent policy. But I also understand when the MEC says that when someone who have qualified for indigent subsidy and still uses 21 kiloliters of water, then there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's just that the MEC don't understand the different cultures of our people. Where, for instance, there's a main house and there's a Wendy or 2 or 3 at the back of the house. So the MEC don't understand that culture. We don't have a generational wealth where a kid can just go to university and there will be a flat or a house. Look, Chair, the question, yes.
Member Maran, are you getting a follow-up question?
Yes, and when we have dealt with an oversight visit in how the Department of Human Settlements and specific municipalities dealt with especially poor people who are working seasonal, what they told us, they took the average income over a 12-month period to see whether a person qualifies or not. Now, when it comes to the poor in your seasonal work, you will find that a person might earn more than the required income to qualify. But if you take that income over that the person, for instance, will receive over a 6-month period, and you divide it over 12 months, you will actually see that person qualifies. And whether from the department side, whether to encourage the different municipalities basically to deal with poor people in such a fashion. And I'm not sure but the MEC can respond whether they are willing to do that, to follow the same as municipalities in terms of human settlements and how they basically divides the income of 6 months over a 12-month period. Thanks.
Thank you. Minister, HOD, if you can respond to those two, and then I will get back to members in Kornblue and Dagmo.
Yeah, to Honourable Chair, to Honourable Maseko, after the elections, it's funny how quickly coalitions can pull skew. It's just mind-boggling. We must remember we're 4 months after the election, and already there's worrying some signs. We struggle. And yes, we monitor the municipalities, etc. But it's a different way of government. You can't just walk in. So as a department, we support, we offer support, we try to help. There's a couple of red flags that we monitor, like the ESCOM accounts of municipalities, etc. And if you can recall last week, ESCOM won a case against the municipality. That's going to change some thinking on the bills of ESCOM. So that's going to put a lot of pressure on the municipalities. So yeah, we visited 4 municipalities last week, myself, the HOD and the team, to see how we can take hands and work together, not falling into the trap of the rumors outside there, and our role is to support municipalities and see if we can make them work. But the current status is that we worried because of the systems, the lack of systems, the failure of infrastructure, lack of maintenance, coalitions focusing not on the right items currently in the municipality. So, but it's an ongoing process. It's one of those things. Honourable Maran, I definitely do understand. It's you that don't understand the equitable share policy, and maybe, Chairperson, we can also workshop the equitable share policy with the Standing Committee. The law states 5 kiloliters of water per household. If there's a Wendy and, sorry, you're outside the law, then we must go and change the law. So we must not make politics of this, please. It's a very sensitive issue. We work with National on the war on leaks, because nationally they've recognized it. If you go now to Beaufort West, they've got a 50% water loss. They're going to go bankrupt then. Who's going to pay for the water? And the big threat currently to municipalities is that the middle income say they're going to stop paying because they cannot carry the scale anymore. So it's a balance. Obviously, you need to have the systems in place. Therefore, we give more than what the Constitution, most of our municipalities, I don't know of any that give 5, all of them give 6 kiloliters or 10. But at the end of the day, you need to balance this. So it's how we're going to implement it. And yes, we must do a lot of work on who qualifies, but also who gets equitable share that's above the threshold. It's the discipline that we need to enforce, and we need to strengthen the municipality's hand to enforce that discipline. Otherwise, we're going to all sink together. So yeah, I don't know, HOD, if you want to add to that.
Thank you, Ministers, Honourable Chairperson and members. So, in our observation, we understand that particularly coalition governments can be a challenge on the couple that we had in the province in the past. So, subsequent to the local government elections, 18 councils that are in a coalition government. And for that reason, if you look at the budget, particularly around the earmark funding, we have petitioned the Provincial Treasury for additional funding. And we are getting about 15 million over the MTEF to help to capacitate, create capability, to ensure sound governance, in particular with the transition period from the old councils to the new councils and so on. There's also money allocated for training. We want to start and pilot projects to the same extent that municipal officials need to go through the MMC course, through the 24 or 20 modules that we also put councillors through it, so that they can understand all the aspects of local government in terms of its legislation, but also in terms of its functionality and so on. So we're quite aware that the coalition governments can create a challenge, and for that reason we were proactive in petitioning the Provincial Treasury for some kind of funding to help us work with these coalition municipalities, but also with other municipalities, to ensure that it's a smooth transition, but that are stable and functional and obviously can provide the services that residents require. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister and HOD. I'm going now back to Member Dugmore and to Member Nkondlo. Good afternoon, Member Nkondlo. Member Dugmore.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, can I just say that, my question to the MEC, and I think the follow-up the original question from MEC Moran, MEC, sorry, maybe MEC to be Member Pat Moran, on the credit control, I think maybe the MEC didn't understand the point that Member Moran was making. We all know about the 5 kiloliter, but the reality is that a poor household might use more than that. And that's why I explained the issue of the backyarders. So that obviously means that that money is owing. The question, however, is, and that's what Member Moran was asking, that there was a decision of this committee to get a legal opinion as to whether it is lawful for a municipality to deduct money from someone purchasing electricity if they have an outstanding bill. That is the issue. Has a legal opinion been completed by the department which says whether this is lawful or not? But I would like to ask, if you look at the APP, there is reference there. The MEC talks about, the elections which have just happened, the importance for political leadership and the issue of good governance. Now, could the MEC comment on the fact that, generally speaking, municipalities, like legislatures, follow the example of allocating the position of MPAC chair to the opposition? But we have a situation in 2 DA-controlled municipalities, Swartland and also Bergrivier, where despite there being opposition parties represented in the municipality, the MPAC chair positions have been allocated to DA members. So could the MEC please comment on that and say whether he agrees with that? Then secondly, we all know, and the MEC has talked about it in his APP statement, around the importance for political leadership, and obviously flowing from that, the code of conduct. Now, I want to cite 2 examples and ask the MEC whether he would regard these issues as issues that need investigation by the various speakers. The first one concerns Mr. Bonito Claassen, former DA mayor, and now an ordinary PR councillor who's been basically suspended from practicing law, yet is a councillor, and whether that conduct actually brings the municipality into disrepute in Witzenberg, and whether that is something that he believes the Speaker should investigate. And then just today, Speaker, a DA councillor in the Theovatus Kloof, a charge of sexual assault has been laid against this particular councillor, and I know that the community is insisting on the arrest of this particular councillor. Is that an issue that the Speaker of the municipality needs to investigate in regard to the possible breach and bringing into disrepute of the council itself? I'd like to ask him on those 2 particular issues. Thanks.
I just want to check with you, that is your load of questions, right?
Speaker, I think that the other questions can be asked during when we go page by page. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Member Nkondlo.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good afternoon to the Minister and his team and all the members on the platform. I just wanted to understand, I think, on 2 areas. One, from the Premier to the budget speech, I think we have been informed of the reforms in as far as reconfiguration around infrastructure and mobility. Now, I just want to understand what is the implication of that reconfiguration or reforms in as far as local government is concerned. And I'm raising this because local government, and I think also there's even a colleague in the team from the unit of municipal infrastructure. So I just wanted to understand whether the department has had its own engagement on this issue of the reforms and its implications, both in terms of program reconfiguration or changes, including the budgetary implications thereof, and if so, what has been done or any work that has been done in terms of responding to that pronouncement. And then secondly, Chair, one of the budget policy priorities for this provincial government, as it was presented from Treasury, I think includes the element of jobs. And in that, one, I think, would have read the feature on the municipal regulatory environment and also on the issues of red tape. Now, I just want to understand the participation and role of this particular department in the delivery of such, considering that I think the more or the less red tape is sort of sorted in municipalities, especially for, and I'm asking specifically for small businesses, for informal sector, that also unlock a business enablement and job opportunities, including, I think, some of the bylaws that would be in the municipalities that require, some kind of updating or being responsive post-COVID environment and the kind of economic climate. Has there been any work that this department is doing in terms of supporting municipalities along realizing that policy priority under jobs? So that is mainly my interest, especially in enabling your local economic development strategies that must actually assist and support the provincial government as job priorities. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Minister HOD.
Chairperson, thank you. Yeah, the standing committee obviously can get a legal opinion if they want to. My understanding is that it's lawful, but it's my understanding. So you can get a legal opinion on that. On the impact, Chairs, Honourable Dugmore, they say you must lead by example. So if you lead where you govern, then I will certainly talk to the people to follow, because my understanding is that all the other provinces refuse to give it to the DA. So then, tit for tat, butter for fat. Personally, I do believe that the impact chairs should be in the opposition's hands, but I'm definitely not going to pressure because of the attitude of the ANC in the other provinces. And then on the two matters, and Chairperson, I'm always very hesitant that we must, it's easy to step on people, but I'm just going to answer your question without the names to it, because I also believe in innocence until proven guilty. But it's both a code of conduct matter. The speaker is the custodian of the code of conduct. We get involved in the sanction. So the speakers must get involved and they must run their process on the transgression of the code of conduct for councillors. Honourable Member, to conclude questions, I'm going to ask the HOD to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ministers. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and to the member that raised the question. So in response to the refresh in terms of the infrastructure, there is a governance structure in relation to infrastructure, and the department is represented on that governance infrastructure. Fundamentally, the departments being affected is transport and public works and human settlements. Obviously, there hasn't been communication around. We've got that directorate to municipal infrastructure. We're working closely with the other departments and municipalities. But at this point, Honourable Chairperson, there was no discussion of the Municipal Infrastructure Directorate within the Department of Local Government being part of a broader infrastructure department or otherwise a mobility department. We are represented because obviously carrying the interests of municipalities as far as relates to municipal infrastructure. So there's no, given that it's the absence of those discussions, there's no discussions relative to the budget and policy directions. As far as the red tape is concerned in relation to jobs, we are facilitating a process. We're not necessarily taking the lead, but the Department of Economic Development and Tourism is taking the lead on this initiative with municipalities. So we have scheduled and I'll speak now what we are doing with that department. So we have scheduled the IGR forum where we have all the municipal managers and some of the HODs. This has been originally on the agenda, the red tape reduction and how do we assist municipalities within the province to be discussed extensively at that IGR structure. On my recommendation, I've asked that particular department together with ourselves take that rather to the DCFs and to sort of personalize it and to enhance it differently. Because the district and the city of Cape Town and the locals are different. So instead of addressing it and make it a general application, rather go develop a focused approach based on a geographic response in that regard. We understand there's bylaws in municipalities that does not necessarily enable trade, growth and development. So for instance, I'm going to make an example. You file informal traders must pay an application fee of R1,000. Now, and we know that informal traders, R1,000 is a lot of money. So, I mean, what we're suggesting of some of the examples is to say, don't pay the R1,000, rather try to monitor and regulate the area where informal traders are functioning. So we are working, Honourable Chairperson, with under the leadership or with the leadership with the Department of Economic Development. We try to facilitate the lead initiative, obviously together with the municipalities in the province. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, moving on, and on Member Moran's question in regard to a presentation. Minister, I'm going to ask you, HOD, putting you on the spot now, if you could take the committee through this, through the infographics as a presentation, and then members can ask their questions pertaining to the infographics, which is the budget in actual fact. Thank you.
Okay, Chairperson, just to take you through the infographic. So you will see if you look at the adjusted revised estimate in this current year with the adjustment budget process, it has been 342 million. That has been adjusted in the main budget down to 309 over 2022-23, and then to 305 and then 303. You see it's a reduction of about 9.69%. The major contributing factor is the once-off earmarked amount that we got for 50 million. And the 50 million that we got in this year was for to help citizens, particularly in all the municipalities, including the city of Cape Town, through EPWP work, so that they can earn a salary or a stipend, and obviously put food on the table because we understand what the impact of COVID-19 was. People lost their jobs and people were half day and so on. So there's a due diligence process that we've done on that. And I think the Zuko is behind me. So you can, if the members would require additional information on that, we can actually provide all the information. But the entire 50 million has been transferred to municipalities to begin to finance those public expanded programs in the province. So that's a fundamental reason why we can see there's a 9.69% decrease. Obviously, we've got additional funding in terms of the provincial priorities as well as earmarked funding. And I will reflect on now. The circle just gives you indication of the various programs. And obviously, the dark green is program 1, the blue is program 2, and the light green is program 3, and you can see red is program 4, and program 4 relates to the Khoisan, giving effect to the establishment and the implementation of it. Over the MTEF, there's just a breakdown, Honourable Chairperson and members, of the various programs to the same extent that the circle entails, and it gives you just as a percentage share of the overall budget what each program is allocated over the MTEF period. The economic classification is clear. You can see the compensation of employees is it's the largest amount within the department is 208 million. We have goods and services, and then obviously transfers to municipalities, and transfer municipalities compared to this year is down given the 50 million. And then you'll see payment for capital assets as well as payment for financial assets over the economic classification. Further breakdown, it just we've got some earmark funding again this year, and we can go in detail for the earmark funding. So ESA is 209. There's provincial priorities that we have, and then obviously transfers to municipalities that we could allocate in the baseline now already. The balance will most probably be subject to further due diligence work, and obviously the 25 million is some form of discretionary funds which the department has. Basically, if you turn over, Honourable Chair and members, you will look at the earmarked funds over the 2022 MTEF, and look at blue, that is program 2. And so this is to establish the capacity in DLG to provide support and interventions where required. So if I can just reflect on this, this is something that the National Treasury and DCOC has allocated to various provinces, and it's fundamentally to help increase or strengthen the capacity in the Department of Local Government in the province, as well as the provincial treasuries to help municipalities. But it can also be allocated, or a portion of it can be used to transfer to municipalities where there are interventions or where we need to support municipalities. But it's primarily to increase the capacity of the two provincial departments, both Treasury and the Department of Local Government. It is not a grant, it's part of the baseline, and it came as from national government to the province. You can see we've got a 5 million per year over the MTEF. So in total is about 15 million. And this is to help to build the capacity, obviously, of municipalities post the local government elections. And I think it's exactly that point that I raised. How do we transition from the old to the new, but also deal with the ostensible or some of the challenges that we could find emerge from certain coalitions within the province, and I would like to have them stable and do their work. So we've obtained a 3 million in program 2, and that is to help with the CDF program. We are working with the French government to identify various projects within municipality, catalytic projects, and to bring that from feasibility to bankability, so that we can increase and strengthen service delivery infrastructure development, particularly where there exists governance certainty within of the municipalities. Program 3 is around the 5.31 million, the replacement of the audiovisual infrastructure, and that is particularly in the disaster management center. There is currently a system like this in place, and Colin can perhaps, if necessary, elaborate, but given the fact that we run the risk of that being outdated, we have made provision for that so that that can be funded. And then obviously the 2 million is to further strengthen the capacity around the fire capacity and rescue service within the province. The last program, it's 4. You can see in the past we've only allocated 1,000 rand there to keep that program particularly active. But we've now increased it to just over 1 million, and then over the MTEF increase it further. But that is to begin to, for COE and goods and services, to begin to capacitate that unit so that we can comply and fulfill the requirements in terms of the Khoisan legislation. And then there's just a further breakdown, Honourable Chair, the 2 blocks. Those are some of the earmarked funding, and it's further elucidated in that block. And then some of the provincial priorities that is also funded over the MTEF. And you can see it's the joint support of the district and metro approach. So we are also strengthening our own capacity around this. I mean, we take the lead on it. We're the lead department. And we, through collaboration and facilitation, bring the various spheres of government together, various stakeholders, business chamber, agriculture, municipalities, districts, to a certain extent communities, so that we can work together in actually increasing the living or improving the living conditions of citizens. We got some additional money to strengthen the forensic investigation unit. We've got the unit within the department. And obviously, what we see there is sort of, there should also a need to increase the capacity within the department. What we also want to do is to appoint our own forensic investigators, that we don't actually go outside, but fundamentally increase that capacity. There's still lots of not applications, but lots of correspondence and requests for investigations in relating to various allegations of fraud, corruption, and maladministration, or at least instances of those. So you can see also there's R1 million that we just want to pilot this, and we want to identify a number of councillors that we can actually take them to the MMC course at the but obviously put it outside. Currently is presented for all the officials, not all officials, but in the Department of Local Government and Provincial Treasury, and we have sent a number of officials already from all levels to go through this training. It's just a better understanding of what happens in municipalities. So we want to give that same exposure, and most of the municipal officials have done it, and we want to give that same exposure to councillors and see how that program runs. There's broadband also to strengthen and help municipalities, but also once again to increase our own capacity. Aerial firefighting, there's Tusong centers and mobile Tusongs. We are assisting municipalities with the municipal electric master planning. And obviously there's further support to municipalities around citizen-focused interventions, engaging citizens, and creating greater awareness about their role in terms of interacting and engaging with municipalities and how they keep municipalities accountable. Some form of drought support. There's still 1 or 2 areas in the province that are at risk, and I think this work we also bring to an end, particularly around the plan that we are developing for the Western Cape province, a 15-year water response plan in relation to water resilience in the province. That is also been identified as a transversal risk in the province. Aerial firefighting, Colin can speak to it, but there are risks. that from the National Department of Environmental Affairs around the aerial firefighting, normally fighting fires. And so that's a minimum amount that we've made available. And obviously the maintenance of the fire hall and then video hall. I normally say fire hall, and work on the disaster management prevention. So Honorable Chairperson and members, Minister colleagues, that's sort of just the explanation of the infographic just on the budget. And you can see the discretionary funds of this particular department, and given the size of it and what we need to do in relation to local government to keep them stable, it's very limited. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, HOD, and thank you that you could rise on to the occasion in short notice. So thank you very much. Members, you have had the infographic. I am tabling vote 14, the appropriation bill to you. So I am taking your round of questions. Please be mindful that we will break at 3:45. Member Bosman, I note you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, if I could ask the Minister and the Department if they could perhaps speak to us on what measures are in place to ensure that the prevention of the politicization of the community development program by certain political parties in small municipalities. We note that it is a VIP focus area on page 745. So if the Minister could just perhaps speak on what measures are in place to make sure that this very innovative program isn't abused for party political gains. And also, if the second question is if the Minister could give us an indication of which municipalities in the Western Cape currently owe Eskom money for outstanding electricity bills. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And you just reminded me, members, just guide me with where your question is on what page. Member Maran.
Thanks, Chair. I got 3 or 4 questions. If you're going to allow questions after the break, I will then keep 2 of them for after the break.
Member Maran, you can ask all your questions. Just guide me as to what page you are on in the budget.
Before I go to that page, Chairperson, just in terms of the indigent policies, and the MEC saying that they should workshop it with me, I think that's the MEC that don't understand. We are saying that those who are receiving 5 kiloliters free, everything more, they should pay. What we are not agreeing with is the credit control policy that basically allows for the deduction of electricity purchases. What should be allowed, because the National Shadow MEC for Finance, who cannot manage his own finances in terms of his municipal account, is allowed to make an arrangements how he would pay his arrears and not deduct money from his electricity account. 743, Chair, is it deals with impact, and I just wanted to check, Chair, in terms of, and I'm not sure the question that the Honourable Dakmo I've not heard the response. The 30 municipalities across the Western Cape, where all impacts committees have been appointed by council. If not, why not? And if they have been appointed, whether they have finished giving training to all 30 municipalities. That's the one. The second one, Chair, and there's a good statement that went out, and I'm not sure whether it was last week, about the sale of a small piece of land. I think it's 6,823 square meters. And I know that the MEC is coming from Mamasbury, where that piece of land was sold. According to Good, the MEC was aware of that sale.
Was Good in the budget? Was
yes.
It in the budget?
It's 745. I gave you that page, Chair. It speaks basically about spatial transformation and land that can be used for other purposes by the municipality, but instead a piece of land was sold to ACVV, and the then mayor presided over most of those meetings. And at that stage, his wife was the chairperson of the ACVV. I'm not sure whether the MEC is part of that and the reasons why the MEC have not investigated that particular case. It's now handed over to the Hawks.
Not in the budget.
Chair,
right?
then speak about 749, sustaining good governance, Chair, illegal practices within different municipalities. And we know, Chair, that the MEC only responded when the ANC councillors wrote a letter to him about that council that have created 2 extra Mako seats. We know Mako seats is 20% of the total council seats. In Matsikama, the councillors for months have received a salary equal to a Mako salary, the creation of 2 extra seats. Now, whether the MEC was aware prior to the letter he have received from ANC councillors, and if, why the MEC have not acted, and if the MEC have acted now, basically what measures will be put in place to make sure that those councillors that have received monies that they were not entitled for, how they will pay back that monies. Will it be the 2 councillors that will pay back that monies, or will it be the councillors who have taken the decision to create 2 new Mako seats, whether they all will be held accountable to pay back those monies? Thanks.
Thank you very much. I note Member Dugmore and Member Maseko.
Thank you once again, Chair. Chair, I would like to draw your attention to page 737. The constitutional mandates of local government are reflected there, and we fully support those, and that being the primary responsibility in terms of this department, the promotion of developmental local government. And obviously there is the oversight role that we have to play. Now, I would like to ask, the MEC is aware that he has received correspondence from the City of Cape Town objecting to the fact that when members of this legislature write to the MEC and request information about the City of Cape Town and various local government matters there, that they have written to the MEC and indicated to him that they don't want to, or they don't believe they have a responsibility to answer those questions. So what I would like to ask the MEC, if he could just update us, because he had indicated that there was going to be a legal opinion as to whether municipalities can actually refuse to answer questions from members of this House via the MEC, and whether he has received any correspondence from any other municipality, because I want to put it on record, and I've checked this, that no other province where questions are directed via the MEC for local government has adopted a view of not responding to those questions. So I would like him to clarify that, because that's critical to the oversight role, our role, and the very work of this committee. And then secondly, there's reference around, the various legislation that goes on 737, goes on to 738, the Property Rates Act, the Systems Act, and so on, and the intergovernmental frameworks, and then also SPLUMA. Now, I would like to ask the MEC if he could inform us how many of the municipalities, as far as he and maybe the department can help, have adopted as municipalities a land audit, which includes the municipal land, the land owned by this province, the land owned by the national government within that particular municipality, or state-owned enterprises, because we have SANRAL, we have ESCOM, etc., who have very critically placed land within these municipalities. So I'd like to ask on the land audit issue, how many municipalities have adopted land audits, which include the different spheres which I've referred to? And secondly, does the department support and is there a standard template or format which the department suggests that local governments follow in adopting those land orders? Because for me, And I'd also like the MEC just to express a view on this and give the committee his opinion. For me and for our side of the House and from the ANC side, we think it's important that when the President talks about a new consensus, that one of the issues we have to do is to come together with local social compacts at a district level and also at a municipal level to look at the land that we have and then put the land audit into the IDP and then have a clear program to release the land that is there for agriculture, human settlements, recreation, etc. So does the minister have a view on whether this is a matter that the three spheres of government could actually work together on, and in particular, whether it is something that the department would support in both, ANC or coalition-controlled municipalities or DA coalition
Thank you, Member
controlled
Dutton.
municipalities? Thank you.
Yes. Member Maseko.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think Member Given got me with some of the question. Just the one last one. On the APP page.
Not clearly audible.
Yeah, I think. I don't know what is it that I'm doing wrong.
No, I can hear, Chair, I can hear from remotely.
I just want all to hear me, not you only. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay. I just want to find out from Minister on page 38 of the APP. I see on 2.13a the number of assessments on the municipal public accounts committees conducted. The annual target is 10 for this new financial year. Just want to find out the past financial year, how many did you do? And if maybe you can indicate the outcome, where are those municipalities now with that assessment? Is it something that you see if they conduct your assessment have helped that impact to really add value within the municipality, or there need to be extra work that has to be done in assisting the impacts committees within the municipalities? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, HOD Minister. Thanks.
Okay, let me just tackle the ESCOM one that Honourable Bosman asked directly to me, the ESCOM. I'm going to what I think I know. So we can, in writing, then make double sure and come back to the standing committee, Honourable Chair. The municipalities currently that owe ESCOM is Beaufort West, around about 68 million. Cedarburg around about 36 million, Machikama around about 82 million, and Kannaland around about 34 million. These figures do change monthly, on a month-to-month basis. Depends if they obviously pay or not. Then there will be an increase or decrease. But yeah, we follow it and we can. But to be safe, I would rather also get the department to send it through to the standing committee. Then Honourable Maran on the RCVV, the land in Swartland, that is under investigation. I've seen the letter, I've seen the answer of the municipality, but the Hawks are busy with the investigation. And obviously, if there was any wrongdoing, then there's a price to pay. Somebody will then be held accountable. On the Machikama seats, I think that one was finalized, and I think they are busy paying back. That's done from our side. On the City of Cape Town, there was an internal legal opinion, and then we sent it to a senior advocate's opinion to get clarity on that. And he agrees with the internal opinion that basically where there's a legislation allows us to have oversight, then they must answer, otherwise they don't have to answer. But again, I think it's maybe safe to send to give the legal opinion to the standing committee to look at that. And I understand the legal opinion because it's also we cannot misuse our oversight powers. I mean, we do have spheres of government, and in that domain, the councillors must take responsibility to answer certain questions. I do get the frustration of municipalities all day trying just to answer questions. They must also govern and see to service delivery at the end of the day. So I think that legal opinion find a balance there between the two. And on the land audit, I will come back to you. I can state that all our municipalities, we're the only province who fully implemented SPLUMA. There's none other province, but on the land audit, I will just make sure, and we will come back to the standing committee.
Thanks, Honourable Chairperson. I'll just ask Ida and particularly Kamal just to respond to the work that has been done around the impacts. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Regarding the impacts, the one question related to the compositions of the impact and whether they've all been appointed. All 29 have been, 29 out of the 30 municipalities have appointed the impacts. There's just one municipality that has difficulty in establishing the impact, which is Witzenberg. The reasoning behind that is obviously they need to resolve internally the composition and the membership of the impact. In relation to the question pertaining to the assessments, this is an annual indicator that we conduct in order to ensure and test the functionality of the impacts. What we have picked up generally over the year and the impact assessments that are being conducted is that now with the recent local government elections, we picked up that, I mean, the councillors do definitely require training in relation to the roles and responsibilities pertaining to the impact, their functions, as well as the manner in which they can interrogate reports which are presented to the impact when it's relating to fruitless and wasteful expenditure, unauthorized expenditure, etc. Thanks, Chair.
Chairperson, thanks, Honourable Chairperson. Perhaps just the first question of the Honourable Member Bosman. So just on the politicization of the CDW program or the CDWs, if there are complaints or allegations or concerns, we do investigate those between Nazuko and Hein, who's responsible for that program. They will then do an assessment investigation. But we also find that of the CDWs have also contested the local government elections, and obviously there's a process in terms of law to release them. And if they do so, obviously they're no longer officials of the Department of Local Government. So there is also, and if colleagues do have, officials do have that ambition, I mean, we encourage them, but not while they are officials or otherwise take part in relation to politics. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I will take a next round, members. Nada. Member Masiko, do you have a question?
No, Chair, I was saying that there's no hand. That means the members are happy with the budget.
Yeah, we spoke too soon. There are two hands. Members Maran, and I note Member Osman and Member Dagmo in that order.
Thanks, Chairperson. And I've asked the question what the department will do to make sure that we know it's a municipal function. We know it's a Section 90 committee that Council 79 committee and Council have to appoint impacts. But it seems it's only Witzenberg. Comrade Kemp, and you've raised the issue of chairpersons. And the response by the MEC was in terms of impact chairs in other provinces, the ANC is not giving it to the DA. But the DA must understand they are not the only opposition. There's other oppositions also. It's not only them. And the ANC gave seat to who they think fits according to who the opposition is. MEC must not have a position that the DA is the only position.
Member Maran, can I ask you to pose your question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you to pose your question, your follow-up question, or your next round of questions?
Yes, Chair.
I
Then,
simply-
Chair, yes, I'm following up also questions that other people have asked. Or can I not? Chair?
You can carry on.
Yes. Chair, on the issue of electricity that's been owed, of money that's been owed to Eskom, and the amounts, Chair, that we have heard now is it's big amounts. And we know why the question is asked, Chair, because the ANC was in control of those municipalities and therefore people want to blame. But Kanaland was under administration, Chair, and there was an unholy alliance between the DA and the ANC. Cederberg and Matsikama, and including Beaufort West, was under control of the DA since 2016. Beaufort West, for instance, KDF and the DA. So we must not try to politicize, Chair, by the Honorable Bosman. If now you've also spoken about the CDWs and how that issue is being politicized. So we fully understand, Chair, why these questions has been asked. Then lastly, Chair, and the Honorable Dartmoor have raised this particular issue. And I've seen a statement on Facebook last night by Good, and it's a pity that Good is not present in this meeting, that speaks basically to the mayor. And whether Witzenberg's finances are in safe hands, Chair. I just wanted to check with the MEC whether Witzenberg's...
For the third time. Member Maran, we are busy with the budget. You still
Yes.
can Good. Don't talk for Good. Good is not present.
I'm just saying what Good have said. That and we know in terms of
Can I ask you to be guided by me? Please pose your questions and say on which pages of the budget you are posing those questions.
I've done so, Chair. It's a follow-up.
That's a long follow-up with a long haul.
But it's different questions what I'm following up.
Now, please
Seems
just...
you don't understand that we have numerous questions and we are following up on those questions.
Moran,
This is the last one.
Member Moran, can I guide you? Please just pose your follow-up question.
Thanks. Don't interrupt me, Chair. I'm busy doing this. Thanks.
I'm chairing if you have noticed.
But you are interrupting me. You don't allow me to finish.
Moran, I'm guiding you to please just pose your follow-up questions. You make a
MEC
without posing a question.
Do you think MEC 6.5 million from a certain company gone, and with the transfers that this department is making to municipalities, and this particular person being your mayoral candidate in these elections, who need to oversee that budget's been spent and now a Mako council, do you think that the finances of Witzenberg is in safe hands? Thank you.
Wow, we got there. Member Bosman.
Thank you, Chairperson. I completely forgot that I've raised my hand after that the diatribe of Member Maran, and I'm glad that Member Maran is putting rationale behind my questions, but I'm perfectly capable of outlining why I ask certain questions.
Why are you using my name?
Member Maran, Member Bosman was quiet while you had the podium. Please do likewise. We're adults.
I'm also very grateful that Member Maran has pointed out the obvious, that the municipalities that owe Eskom money and that is in severe trouble in this province were all run, and in some cases are still run, by the ANC. But we do not ask these questions to politicize, Chair. Our job is oversight, and our job is to make sure that we assist these municipalities. So my follow-up, Chair, is to the Minister and the Department. I'd like to know to what extent did these struggling municipalities, the ones listed, Beaufort West, Cederberg, Matsikama, and Kanaland, take advantage of the capacity building and support that was provided for the department, and also if the Minister can speak to what the current allocations will do to enhance that capacity. And Chair, I'd also like to, through you, just remind Member Maran that although he's entitled to his opinion, he's not entitled to his own...
Member Maran.
I'm speaking through you, Chair, that members mustn't come with his own opinion. He is entitled to his own opinion, but he mustn't come with his own facts. Canaland was never under administration. They were under a financial recovery plan. And I think if the Minister could perhaps explain to us to what extent the department is going to be involved in this financial year in the recovery plan of Beaufort West, which has been plundered by a certain political party, which I shall not mention for fear of being attacked by Member Moran.
Thank you, Member Bosman. Member Dugmore.
Chairperson, thank you. Chairperson, I was going to raise a point of order, but I want to appeal to you to act fairly when you deal with the members of this committee. Member Bosman, has been making particular statements, talking through you to Member Moran. He hasn't been called to order. And you've consistently interrupted Member Moran. So I just want to appeal to you. But Chair, my questions are basically the following, is that if we could get a list from the department of all the impact chairs and from which political parties they come, because that will clearly show that where the ANC is governing, that those chairs are held by opposition parties. And as Member Moran said, they don't have to be from the DA, they can be from another opposition party. The problem that we have with Swartland and with the Bergrivier, and that's what I'd like to ask the department, is that those are run by the DA. There are opposition parties, but whether it's the ANC or another opposition party, they haven't appointed one, and that's the issue that we are making. So could we, my request is if we could please have a list of all the impact chairs and from which parties they come from. I think, we talk a lot, Chairperson, about the sphere of government. There are obviously political issues, but ultimately, if you look at the constitutional mandate, we really have to make sure that municipalities work, and we have to expose corruption and malfeasance where it comes from. And let's do that without fear or favor. And one of the ways of doing that is to have an opposition party in the impact chair, and that's something that we support. But Chair, I would then like to ask if we specifically look at the page 758, which refers to the office of the MEC. If the MEC could provide to us a list of all the staff members in his office, indicate whether he has an advisor or not, and then indicate at what level the various ministerial or MEC staff are appointed at. Then, Chair, I have a number of questions related to all the annexures which refer to the different grants that have been made to local government, the public employment support grant, etc., etc. Can I go on to those? Because as I think members know, that in the Gazette 8566 dated Monday, the 14th of March, all of those allocations to municipalities are reflected in the budget, but not listed in the Division of Revenue Act. And I have a number of questions to ask about the various grants that have been made to local government, but those are quite substantial because there's a huge number of grants to local government that are. So I'm just asking, shall I do that after tea, or can I start with that now?
While you have the platform, please continue.
Okay, so I want to specifically refer honourable members to the grant in regard to providing resources to serve in the City of Cape Town law enforcement services. And you will see there that there's an initial allocation of 2.8 million. It goes up to 2.9 and then to 3.084. Now, my question would be, why is this allocation? And obviously this comes from community safety, but from a local government perspective, is the MEC and the department supporting the fact that this allocation is only being made to the city of Cape Town. Many of our municipalities are dealing with safety challenges, and why is none of this finance going to non-metro municipalities? Then if you look specifically at another grant, which is the K9 establishment and support of a K9 unit, that is the dog units as they used to be called. Now, when you look there and you see the allocation, there's a total of 8 million, and the city gets 1 million. Swartland gets 2.4 million. Overstrand gets 2.4, and Mossel Bay gets 3 million. No other municipalities get grants for the K9 unit, and it just so happens that all of these municipalities are DA municipalities. So there is in the description, there are for instance, allocation of criteria, and it says that the Western Cape Department, together with local government, have been grappling with complex and seemingly perennial societal issues such as poverty, substance abuse, crime, human development in a specific area. The K9 aims to tackle safety and social challenges relating to narcotics and poaching of marine. So now there's narcotics and poaching of marine resources. That still does not explain why Mossel Bay, Overstrand, Swartland, and Cape Town are the only municipalities that benefit. And I can go on. Let us look at the whole of society grant. Also, the transferring department is community safety. Vote for safety initiative implementation, whole of society. Once again, we see particular allocations which don't explain the situation adequately. If you look at the resourcing funding for the establishment of law enforcement reaction units, you see there that Swartland is the only municipality in the West Coast to get 4, and it gets 4 million rand, and Overstrand gets 2.9, almost 3. No other municipality. So, and those are both DA municipalities. We're not wanting to politicize, but the issue of setting up law enforcement reaction units are issues which are important in all communities. One would have at least expected some level of objectivity and the depoliticization of a grant such as setting up these reaction units. It's just gone past, so my remaining questions relate to all these different grants. I can maybe just deal with one more. Integrated nutrition from health, vote 6. There is a 6 million rand that goes to the city of Cape Town. No allocation to any other municipality. Then let's take the HIV/AIDS grant, 316 million to the city of Cape Town. No other municipality gets this grant. And yes, it's a conditional grant, but the issue of why other municipalities who are also sitting with an HIV/AIDS problem are not allocated any resources from the HIV/AIDS grant. The non-metro municipalities constitute at least 36% of the population of this province. And yet, in terms of some of these key grants, they seem to be excluded, or you have a situation where very particular municipalities are included in these grants. I'll stop there for now. Thanks.
Member Dankmore, can I just clarify with you that Government Gazette, what number is it?
The Government Gazette is 8566. It's Monday, the 14th of March. But if you look at the back of the blue book, literally the back, because we are local government is the last vote, you will see there under all those tables, you know, table A. Yeah, you're under the annexes. They are there, but more detail is provided in the Gazette, actually. So I'm talking both to the annexes on like page 787, 786, but I'm specifically referring also to the Gazette, which is one of the documents that was provided that we also need to consider, because that contains every single allocation of grants to municipalities in that Gazette.
Thank you very much. HOD is on that page 787. That's a list, but Member Dankmore also read it in unison with that Government Gazette, 787.
It's
your last.
No, Chair, yeah, it's just I'll pause for there, but basically those annexes they start as early as 7.
768.
No.
768, an extra star.
Yeah, that's right.
Chairperson, that's not our grant.
Okay.
That's not our grants. Each department work with their own sets of criteria. I mean, we cannot answer on behalf of safety or DSD.
But Chair, could I just ask the MEC, I think earlier Member Nkondlo was talking about integration and so on. So obviously each of these grants, it indicates from which department it's coming. But the reality is we're talking about local government here. All of these grants go directly to local government. So it's just surprising to me that there doesn't appear to be any integration or joint planning between different departments, because is the MEC then saying that they have no input into who, for instance, community safety, which municipality they suggest it goes to? Is that something that they're not interested in, or they literally don't talk to their sister or brother departments?
Member Duncan Moore, your question is almost posed in the same vein as you asked it yesterday in vote 1. I'm going to ask the Minister and the HOD to respond, and for you to lower your hand, and then we'll take it from there.
Chairperson, if you look at the only one I can speak on of Member Marang, the 6.5 million rand, and is the municipality in good hands? Remember, there's a case again, and let's wait for the outcome of that. And obviously, the mayor, the municipality's finance is not in the hands of the mayor. There's a CFO, there's a team of people. So definitely, and obviously, we monitor it, and there's auditor general, etc., etc. Honorable Bosman, yeah, the capacity building and working with the municipalities. Let me just say that from my personal opinion is that there's no reason why a municipality don't pay Eskom. You sell a product, you get an income, you can use the profit on the income, but you should pay Eskom. And we bring in as Eskom, we've got various meetings with them. We help to craft an agreement between Eskom and the municipalities. The problem that we sit with is that the municipalities then don't stick to that arrangement. They and then Eskom will act. And again, municipalities must take note of the latest court judgment. Yeah, Honourable Dakmo, I know that everything is playing out in local government, but definitely we cannot answer to everything. It's not in our budget, it's in safety, and they've got their sets of criteria, and no, we don't interfere in how they allocate the funding. There's and if you look at the region, it's got nothing to do with a political party. I will take you back. I think it was when the MEC Ramatikani was the MEC of safety. He allocated the safety function to Swartland municipality, the only B municipality in the country. From there, they've started the K9 unit, so it was there. Overstrand had one. So from community safety sense, it just makes sense to invest in that. And these K9 unit, they work across. They work in the whole West Coast. They work in the whole East Coast and in the whole Garden Route. So they just built on that, and they're hugely successful. So I think it's a good program, but I'm going to leave it there and ask my HOD to add.
Thank you, Minister. So thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and for the questions from the honourable members. So if I can just maybe reflect on the first question of Honourable Member Bosman around the capacity and so on to the municipalities. So obviously, whether it's Kanaland, Beaufort, Cederberg, or Matsikama, or any other municipality, we will continue our support. We have invested lots of support, funding, and resources into some of these municipalities, also particularly Kanaland, and to the extent Beaufort West. So yes, we are working together with the Provincial Treasury to ensure that is implementation and compliance in relation to the financial recovery plan in Beaufort West. In actual fact, as the Minister indicated, we came last week from a visit of 4 municipalities. So Beaufort West got a financial recovery plan. For the other municipalities that we have visited, we've agreed that we will develop support plans, prioritize some of the support required, and then see to what extent we can resource those support plans. But we will continue providing the necessary support to the extent that we can to these municipalities where there's ostensible governance, service delivery, financial challenges in the province. In actual fact, just in relation to Beaufort West, we will be with Council on the 23rd of March, where myself and the head of Treasury will present the financial recovery plan in Council in Beaufort West to provide further support and to stabilize their finances over time. We can most probably give I don't know if the Minister's comfortable, the list of impact chairs and so on. We've got that detail and we will make it available to the standing committee around that. And as Minister said that, so we do some form of collaboration and integration. So again, on the 4th of April, we will get the head official in Treasury in, together with all the MMs, and begin to talk about the transfers of the various departments to municipalities. The sense of certainty, but also some of what we call a project plan, so that we understand if it's for a school, if it's for a clinic, when do we do the foundation to completion and track that kind of stuff. And we also try via the JDMA and the DCFs with other departments that are represented as this district interface teams, where they come and talk to municipalities, what they would transfer to municipalities, what they're going to develop, and what is the infrastructure planning like look in the various municipalities. So the platform, the IGR platform, is used to facilitate and engage municipalities on forward planning, but also on forward budgeting within the province and so on. But fundamentally, as the Minister has indicated, each department has his or her own allocation criteria, and based on that criteria, they make allocations to the various municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member Maseko.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just want to find out on the APP, I think on page 19, when coming to the support to the municipalities for the infrastructure, and I see here you have the recovery, the infrastructure is key to economic recovery, integrated planning of the key catalytic infrastructure projects. When we went to the Kanaland municipality, I think it's the last time, one of the problems that the municipality face, of which most municipalities do have, is the rate of losing water, that they cannot account to that loss of the water within their systems, and I tend to believe is in the infrastructure. Now, I want to find out from the department that so far, do you have the systems in place, and have you identified the municipalities that is in dire need for that renewing that or the servicing of that infrastructure to make sure that you reduce the loss of the water, because it's one of the issues of if we have to champion the economic development in the municipalities for the revenue generation for the investors as they come, we have to also do that. Do you have the systems in place in assisting those municipalities to get the skilled people in those municipalities to make sure that they try to cap that problem within different municipalities? And the second one, it will be, the crime that is happening in the metro is filtering to the municipalities, that now some municipalities, they have to really champion the law enforcement. So have the system to help the municipalities where you identify the problem as it starts to really increase at a rapid pace, because one of the municipalities there, Cedarburg in citrus that there's been deaths every week, and you see that there's no monitoring in the informal settlement. So that is the crime within that. And then also I have seen that the community, they've moved the other side of the boundary where there's a river and they throw in the rubbish within the rivers, and then there is the citrus around there. So there's a ripple effect of that as it happens, of how do you assist the municipalities in their town plannings or the future town plannings to make sure that there is something that can cap that you don't have to have a huge scale of trying to deal with that problem, whilst we could have maybe had a system to assist those municipalities to cap that problem within it expands to a rate that it is in Riverview, in Citrus Dal, because there's a lot of problems now on that specific informal settlement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Wrong Mike. Minister, HOD.
Yeah, Chairperson, I hope that one of the comments in your report will be that this department must get more funding. Obviously, and Member Maseko is correct. Infrastructure, the lack thereof and the lack of maintenance of infrastructure is a big worry. It's one of the first things where they drop the ball. A lot of the issues that we struggle with is that actually it's bad management within a lot of municipalities. And then we must step in and try to save that municipality while others struggle, but they do the right thing. So it's also to not always invest in the failures of management, but to either reward success. But obviously we don't have the budgets to just fix it. We must remember municipalities do get tax income. They should manage that. And if you look at this problematic municipalities, most of them, their problems start with their organigram. That's where the problem starts. If you've got double the staff component, that money should have been invested in infrastructure. I mean, it was not long ago when we helped Kanaland with 14 or 15 vehicles, different kind of vehicles. Do they maintain that? We're not the inspectors day in and day out. They should be able to do that. But I know that Cederburg specifically, we've now managed, and Marius must come in, they've managed to get the right pumps and pump stations up and running now. Now there's a lot of pipe bursts, so now we must start to invest in the pipe, etc. And yes, Marius and his team, maybe he must just, but on your other issue, it's actually stem from poverty. Poverty is going to eat us alive. I mean, in our rural towns, there's a lot of gangsterism going on. You will know that. How do we deal that with our limited budget? And it's not always a safety issue. We must talk to our children, give them something better to do than gangs. So there's a lot for everybody to focus on. On the informal settlements and the rivers, yeah, it's one of the big polluters. If informal settlements don't have the basic services, we've seen it with the Berg River program. You will recall a lot of money has gone into that river, but always into either sewage plants or informal settlements to get services to them. So it's important that we work with our communities, but it's also important that we strengthen the department, and the HOD is busy with that process. But it's also something that we worry about. We struggle to get good engineers, good CFOs, good municipal managers currently. And we as a department will need to look into having a pool from which we can draw and send to municipalities, because in the municipal domain, you cannot send emails. You must be hands-on. You must go physically and go and support and help them. And that's something that we as a department will need to invest in more going forward, but I don't know if Marius wants to add.
Yes, thank you, Chair and honourable members. Maybe it's, in the Kanaland example, for instance, we go in and we do a full diagnostic investigation of the condition of the infrastructure. So we recently, for instance, done one on the water infrastructure as well as the wastewater treatment infrastructure. We also looked at waste management. And then we developed a support plan, breaking it up in those immediate things that must be fixed and then medium to longer term. If I could maybe just go back to assistance in terms of water losses, we've got basically 3 programs there. We've got under our drought response plan, we do biannual assessments, and thereby we will establish then where there is demand management problems, and hand in hand with that will then go replacement of water meters or installation of specifically smart meters that really showed us how we can decrease the number of water losses. It also picks up water leaks, and on a daily basis then the engineers sends out his team to go and fix those leaks. Then we've got also asset management program, as Minister alluded. There's a big lack in maintenance, and obviously there we will focus on those municipalities in dire need of looking at addressing their maintenance plans. And then in partnership with other departments and the Development Bank of Southern Africa, we also assist with revenue enhancement plans, where we also then look exactly at each and every earth, whether the water meters are in place, or maybe where it's bypassed, or where there is no meter, or it's not functional. And then there will be teams that will be going out to actually address those very specific problems identified. Thank you, Chair and members.
Thank you very much, members. Minister HOD. We're going to break now for a tea break, and for you at home or wherever you are behind your computers for a leg stretch. We will come back at 4:05 promptly. I saw no hands when we have broken for the tea break. The HOD is here. Members, the HOD is here, and we are, in regard to members, we are full capacity in the chamber. Member Maran, I note your hand.
Yeah, Chair, no, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to check with you whether you are asking to, whether you were checking whether there was any hands, if we want to ask any questions.
There was no hands, but now your hand is raised.
Ons het geëet, nou wil ons gaan rus.
Yes, no, we have lowered our hands when we break.
Okay. Continue, Member Maran.
Thanks, Chair. And this might be my last, Chair.
Yeah,
Look,
just refer us to the page where you're on, Member Maran.
Chair?
I say just
Page.
refer us to the pages where you're on.
No, but it's follow-ups.
Hey, it's follow-up.
Yes.
Oh, Member Maran, please
Yes,
continue with your follow-up without the
thanks, Chair.
long call, just the follow-up.
Chair, thanks very much. And the HOD have spoken basically about Beaufort West, where there's a recovery plan, and I know that the MEC was there, they visited, and the article basically said it was on request of the municipality, and we are glad that there is some intervention, and also the support plans when it comes to other municipalities. But it's now said, Chair, that Canaland was never under administration, and maybe the HOD should clarify whether Canaland was under administration or not. And we also, Chair, are aware of the outcome in October last year, when the Western Cape High Court was supposed to take a decision whether that particular intervention was legal or not. But our understanding was that Canaland was under administration from December 2018, and also the oversight visit that went there confirmed that. OCD must just clarify that. Can the OCD must just clarify that? Can the HOD also tell us when Mr. Wessel Roberts Rabets, financial administrator, was appointed, how much he was being paid, how much funds were allocated to Canaland during that particular period? And also lastly, Chair, and the MEC have responded that we can get our own opinion in terms of the cattle control policy and whether it's legal or not. According to the MEC's understanding, it's correct. But my question was posted to the HOD, because in a standing committee meeting, basically the HOD promised us that they will investigate, they will look into that particular matter. And I'm not sure whether the HOD have responded. If, my apologies, if not, the HOD must tell us whether they have investigated, if not, why not, or even if it's promised some time ago, whether they are willing to look into that particular matter, whether it's legal or not. Thanks. To basically deduct money when people purchase electricity. That's the issue. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Member Maran. Actually, I'm on the second page of the infographic, and I just want to check whether this department can present to the standing committee around the earmark funds on the next engagement with you. And then also in regard to the funding for capacity building, would this funding include ward committee members as well? Would are they included in that funding to be capacitated as well? And then also I'm checking whether the municipal minimum competency training, is that included in that funding? And then I also just want to check in regard to the Tusong centers, and your mobile Tusong centers, but I think specifically I am on the Tusong centers. What is the lessons that you have learned around the Tusong centers, and is anything going to be different going forward in regard to the services provided at the Tusong centers for our communities, and also the hours of service for that same community members? And then in regard to the minister referred to it as the problem municipalities, and I want to refer to as the repeat offenders, in regard to strengthening the investigations, special investigations. I just want to know, what is the number of cases now that are currently being investigated? And of that municipalities that was highlighted in regard to the ESCOM debt that they have, whether of those are part of municipalities that are under investigation. Thank you. Member Maseko.
Thank you very much. Chair, I just want to let to your questions about the Tusong centers. The communities, they don't see local government, province, SASSA, Department of Labor and others as a separate thing. They see where they can get the services from the government, and it's either it's working or it's not working. Now we have a program, a beautiful program of Tusong Center, but the issues that have been raised by the communities all the time, you'll find there is a date of SASSA that we are coming. And then they'll say it's the 22nd. They go the 22nd, they get told that, no, we just got the call that they will be coming tomorrow. And mind you, the communities will find that they travel about, they pay 50 rand to come there to do some of the things. So I want to find out from the department, and that is Home Affairs, it's SASSA all the time in the rural areas, that's what's happening. So we want to find out that what is it that is going to be different, because this, I'll take is the last financial year and the other years that it has been happening. There need to be an innovative or innovation or engagement that happens to say, how do we tackle that problems on behalf of our communities more in the rural areas? That's all for me, Chair.
Thank you very much, HOD.
Good, Chairperson. So I'm gonna perhaps just ask Mazuka maybe to respond to the earmark funding, the whole committee. It is actually can be applied, and then also about the Tusong centers and so on. If Ira can do the investigations, and then I will respond to the question of Honourable Member Moran. Mazuka.
Honourable Chair, if I start with the one on the ward committees, we were proactive as a province last year in terms of ensuring that, and it was a continuation in us having trained municipal officials responsible for public participation so that they can also train the ward committees, because previously we used to do the training and then we moved towards train the trainer. So we've dealt with that component. In terms of the training material for the new ward committees now in the process of being established, we've also purchased that material in the past financial year. So our focus in the new financial year, on the one component is around training in terms of municipal officials doing the training post the establishment process. It will then be the induction of the ward committees. Also, as part of that funding that we have allocated, is a program that we assist municipalities in terms of your Know Your Ward Committee campaign. So that's also part of that component. Then on the Tusong program, so when the national government started with the Tusong program, the focus was around the Tusong service centers, and having at least one center in each municipality. In the Western Cape, we then approached that a bit differently when we took an audit of all the centers in the Western Cape. The proximity where people are accessing services. So we looked at having centers. We looked at having an outreach program, which in the previous past was called the mobile. So we do an outreach. We also looked at two-song zones where people can access the key anchor departments being Home Affairs, SASSA, Labour within a 5-kilometer zone. But we also looked at an extension program, bringing in CDWs to be able to assist people that are in the further areas. So some of the lessons we've then had to renovate that program and start looking at that as a program instead of as a small component of centers. The national colleagues have also adopted now that model as part of moving forward in terms of the two-song program. We've also taken that program to the next level when we're challenged by our minister. And we looked at a vision for the two-song program. How do we use the two-song program in terms of especially the centers as hubs for poverty alleviation, reduction, job creation, as well as broad-based development. And as part of that, we've encouraged municipalities to look at small-scale economic development projects closer to the center, and we've been able to fund that. So there's a range of programs that we've presented in the past standing committees, which we have supported. So we continue every year to identify some around sewing, some have been providing training, and some of those people that have been trained, especially youth and women, have also gone to get other employment opportunities. So we've got a list of those programs that we have funded. So we've gone beyond what we used to have as first generation centers, which were quite small, and we're trying to explore how do we move forward. Obviously, there is an issue around funding. This program initially was doing quite well, especially around the outreach program. But with the fiscal constraints, the number of outreaches have now reduced. We have in the past, and even the schedule for this year, we have targeted the more rural areas. We've targeted farms. Even our schedule for this year is going towards those particular areas. So we try as much as we can to be able to do that. So I think, but it's within the constrained environment. We understand that some of the departments also have similar challenges. We've had it on, I think it was on the 11th of March this year. We hosted our standing committee at one of the smallest centers in Langapan. And so we started to have a conversation about some of the challenges, especially with the other departments that are also facing fiscal constraints. So in summary, Chair, we are continuously engaging with our partners, being SASSA. Those are just the key partners, SASSA, Labour, education. But in terms of our centers, we have gone beyond those anchor services or key departments to also expand others. You begin to have banks, we have NGOs that are within our centers. We also have brought in our two-song, our CDW component within our centers. We've done quite as much as we can. We've now, further in the case of Langapan that we were last week, given the challenges that were identified, we've engaged SASSA that side to look beyond the Vredendal offices, to also look at the other offices in terms of assisting. We've engaged Home Affairs. They have looked at now going back to that area in terms of their own outreaches to bring their trucks to also assist people. So those key departments, both at the provincial level and the national level, are our partners, and we've had quite good collaboration with them. Where there's been challenges, we either have dealt with them now at a district level before we escalate them to a provincial level and then to a national level. Thank you, Chair.
And then now I'll just answer the first question of.
Thank you. Actually, Honourable Chairperson, just in terms of the investigations, we currently have a small unit that we receive ring-fenced funding for on a 3-year basis from the Treasury. We have actually started the organizational redesign process a while back before COVID to permanently institutionalize that inside the structure of the department. That's already in a very advanced stage. But as that process unfolds and needs to be funded and approved by the DPSA, in the meantime, we have a number of contract workers that are all professionally registered investigators, which we unfortunately have to appoint on a year-by-year basis because that's how the funding works. But we have it ring-fenced for 3 years, and that is at the moment capacity that we do have. We are also looking at further building on that capacity just based on the number of allegations that we are receiving. And as was previously mentioned by the HOD, all of them needs to be assessed on their merit as we receive them. That is Minister's responsibility. And from then, obviously, the investigations flow out. But that has been indeed granted to us by the Treasury, and we will continue to build that capacity going forward. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Just in relation to
Are we able to understand how many cases are there currently?
we can most probably give that detail to, if we can maybe make a written response,
Okay.
if that's fine. Or do you
Sure.
have the detail, Ira?
Yeah.
The number of cases that we are dealing with now.
And specifically whether there are those municipalities that are in debt with Eskom, whether there are cases from those municipalities that are under investigation. Thank you.
Chair, I'm just trying to connect with my HOD. So what we have is, and I think we must just say that outright, is I think we're also seeing a higher number of cases coming towards the department, and I think it's just because there's a greater emphasis on the department looking into them. But also the statistics is showing us that a number of them are also proving to be more frivolous, and I think it's to do with a higher number of them coming through. I think that is just important to say, but there's definitely a greater level of comfort of people to coming forward. So what we at the moment have is we are having a number of municipalities where we do, before we do a formal intervention, we use our own Western Cape Act to collect certain information and make an assessment. So there's at least, well, there's a number of municipalities here, and some of them may be affected by Eskom, but it's generally allegations that look at matters like appointments of service providers, contract management, supply chain, and so on. So there's quite a number of which can provide the detail. And at the moment, there are also a number of completed 106 investigations, of which then the reports are being issued. And at the moment, there are a number of ongoing ones, which we track on a bi-weekly basis and provide HOD with an update. But I think the detail we can provide then through the HOD to the chair and the committee.
Thank you. Just in relation to the first question of Honourable Member Marin, so when you do a financial recovery plan, the municipality is formally under administration in terms of 139.5. It talks about as a result of its financial crisis, and as a result of that, you have breach of commitments in terms of its executive obligations, or it can't fulfill its financial commitments. Otherwise, it admits, or otherwise it is unable to meet those commitments. And then 139.5 prescribes that there should be a financial recovery plan that needs to be imposed. So both in the cases of Canaland as well as Beaufort West, they under formal administration in terms of 139.5. It's not as a result of executive failures, which will be 139.1. So just in the case of Canaland, ourselves, together with the provincial treasury, went ahead and actually drafted a financial recovery plan. That was some time ago. At the time, it was our view that that capacity does not exist at the national treasury. Obviously, Canaland municipality took that on court based on procedural compliance, to the extent that the national recovery services within the national treasury had to compile and draft the financial recovery plan. And based on the affidavits and the papers presented, the court found that in actual fact, the National Treasury had to be part, its financial recovery service had to be part of drafting the financial recovery plan. We've gone that route now with Beaufort West Municipality. So the National Treasury, together with ourselves and Provincial Treasury, work in concert to develop the financial recovery plan. It has been approved by the National Minister, Provincial Minister, and it's gone to the Beaufort West Municipal Council. Chairperson, in relation to vessel repairs, it relates to the 2019-20, 2020-21 financial years. It's not necessarily in relation to the budget, but I'm guided by you. We don't have the detail here. If you guide us, we can make that detail available, but it's not part of the 22-23 budget. And then just on the legal opinion, I've just checked, we haven't obtained the legal opinion around the credit control. I'll take responsibility to obtain that legal opinion. We will first look at it for an internal opinion, and if necessary, approach senior counsel for a legal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. That's in order, HOD. I note no hands, members. I then get to the conclusion that is the questions posed by members for this afternoon. I have been indicated by the procedural officer that there are no members of the public that is going to use the public hearing platform for this meeting. I then want to say, or I want to give an opportunity then to the Minister and the HOD for some closing remarks in regard to the appropriation that has been deliberated on for vote 14 in this afternoon's session.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Again, thank you to the department for the preparation, and thank you for the standing committee. Always interesting to interact and engage with you. We take these questions in the spirit, and obviously we respect your oversight role. At the end of the day, we want to foresee to it that there's a better governance, better service delivery to our people. And lastly, I want to wish Honourable Member Moran and Dagmar good luck with their Congress. I hope they get a venue where the chairs are bolted. So good luck with that. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, honourable members, from my side, thank you very much. In the same vein as the Minister for the oversight and keeping ourselves on our toes. We've got our work cut out, and also to the team sitting in the house here. Thank you very much for their support, and also those on the platform, but also each and every staff member that is back in the office and also perhaps at home. Each of them making a valuable contribution to ensure that we do what we are able to do. Thank you very much.
Chair.
Yeah, I note your hand. Member Davo?
Sorry, no, I thought you just said that you'd noted my hand, but not necessarily given me the permission to speak. I'm trying to be very respectful, Chair. No, but Chair, also thank you very much to the officials. Thanks to the MEC for his good wishes. There will be no throwing of chairs, but I just wanted to ask, Chair, through you to the MEC. I mean, sometimes our study groups need to invite various officials, to brief us on particular issues, and I would just like to confirm that that is a practice that he would support if we would direct correspondence to him requesting certain officials to attend our study group as a caucus, if that would be in order. Thank you.
Honourable Chair, yes, no problem with that, but I want to ask all the politicians, we must keep the officials out of the political domain. To brief a caucus is fine, but then when we have a political discussion on the briefing, let's excuse them. But I will definitely support that. We need the expertise, and they're all experts in the different fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Moran?
Thanks, Chairperson. Also from my side, Chair. Thanks very much to the MEC and officials, and also for the responses. Chair, the MEC now mentioned that our party is going to its conferences. At some stage, we had one of our chairpersons suspended, but we never had our acting chairperson suspended, like recently with NDDA.
Around stop the politics.
The MEC started it, but myself and the MEC will see each other in the streets of Woolsley. Thanks.
I'll see you in Witzenberg.
Witzenberg, yes.
Minister and Member Moran.
Lastly, Chair, there is a commitment now from the HOD. I don't mind whether we get an internal opinion. That's fine. And if it's necessary for a legal opinion, I will also be happy. So I'm fine also with the internal opinion. Thanks very much, HOD.
Thank you very much, Member Moran. That is to say, Minister and HOD and the staff members who are here of the department, thank you very much for availing yourselves and allowing us to deliberate on the budget for vote 40. And we will hereafter split money, HOD, and see where the money has gone to. So we will do that. All of our meetings we will have outside in municipalities and not necessarily in the chamber. But of course, we will inform both you and the minister and the department accordingly. Members, thank you very much for your availability. You stay behind so that we can conclude on the administrative tasks. And this is where we say thank you very much and goodbye to the minister, the HOD, and all the staff members present. Go well and be safe. Thank you. Members, I trust that you are still in the meeting. Member Moran, is that a legacy hand of yours?
Yes, I'm going to allow it.
Thank you.
So, Chairperson, can we ask Member Dagmo to mute yourself? You can hear everything that you are doing in the room.
Member Dagmo, please mute.
Yeah, no, I am muting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, members, then if we get to the administrative task, the next task that we have to do is to get the to pose the question whether you support or not support this appropriation for vote 14.
Chair, I propose that.
Member Maseko, I didn't note you, sorry.
Thank you. I propose that we support the vote and also if we can flash the report to adopt the report also.
Thank you, Member Maseko. I note members Bosman and Member Dagmo.
Chairperson, I would like to second Member Maseko's proposal that this committee supports the vote for the Department of Local Government.
Thank you, Member Dagmo.
Chairperson, just to say that the ANC does not support this vote, and we would request that our minority view be recorded in terms of the rules, Rule 90 in particular. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Dagmo. Therefore, then I will just read how the report would then read. I'm guided here by the procedural officer. So it will then read the standing committee. Oh, okay. It will read in the members. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
We can hear you.
Thank you. It will read in report of the Standing Committee on Local Government on vote 14, local government, in the schedule to the Western Cape Appropriation Bill B1 2022 dated 17 March 2022 as follows. The Standing Committee on Local Government, having deliberated on the subject of Vote 14 local government in the schedule to the Western Cape Appropriation Bill B1 of 2022, referred to the committee in accordance with Standing Rule 188, reports that it supports the vote. Then, in regard to the minority view expressed, in accordance with Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress expressed its minority view that it does not support the vote. Members, can we then adopt accordingly?
Agree, Chairperson. It's an accurate reflection of what we support.
Thank you very much, Member Bosman. Member Maseko?
Second that, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Chair,
Yes.
that's fine. We are adopting now the committee. Can you hear me?
Is that Member Moran?
Yes, it's him speaking.
Yes, please continue.
No, Chair, we are fine. We are also now adopting the committee report. And indeed, our view is captured within the report. Therefore, we don't have a problem with the report itself. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Member Moran. Member Dugmo, I note your hand. Is that a legacy hand or fresh one?
It's a fresh one, Chair. No, thank you very much. I think the position is clear. I presume that we're now going to go on and specifically through you ask our committee coordinator to take us through the information that we have requested and also the time frames by which we need that information. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much. Are you having tea time?
No, Chairperson, I'm not sure what these noises that Honourable Maseko is referring to, but I'm not having tea here. Definitely not having tea.
Okay. Yes, Member Dugmo, we will go on to that now. Just bear with me. Okay, members, we will go to the draft minutes dated 1st March 2022. That's the next point on the agenda. And I have been informed that you have received it. So on page 1 reflects all the members who have attended. And then on page 2, it reflects what we have discussed and also the resolutions of that meeting. May I request, is there any amendments to this? Otherwise, may I ask? Just say that again, member.
I just want to hear the 5.2. My glasses are failing.
That's an issue that was also brought up by member Dugmo today, and he has brought it up last week or on the 1st. The failure by municipalities to respond to questions by members in the House to the Minister for Local Government that relates to municipalities. It was further proposed that the National Department of Local Government, the City of Cape Town, the Provincial Minister be invited to clarify the matter.
Thank you very much. With that, I propose that we adopt the minutes.
Is a proposal to adopt the draft minutes. Can I have a seconder?
Yeah, I second that.
Second the minutes. Thank you very much. Members, we now go to the recommendations for this meeting that we just had this afternoon.
Sorry, Chair, sorry,
Yes.
just on a point of order, if you could just clarify something. Obviously, we've adopted the minutes. If you could just clarify, because I think there was another attachment that Mr. Kutsia provided for this meeting. That was, the program. If you could just, because obviously what I proposed was simply noted, Now, could you just inform the committee when we would be meeting so that we can then have a discussion about the program of action of this committee. Could you just clarify that for us now that we've adopted the
Remember,
minutes?
in regard to our next meeting, we are today on the 17th, and then the 28th of March, we have the budget votes. And then our next engagement would be Tuesday, the 3rd of May, as according to the draft program that you have received. Member Dugmore?
Chair, yeah, thanks. What I'm asking is for your commitment that at that meeting, the issues that I've raised, which have simply been noted in the minutes, but not yet formally included in the program, can be discussed. So at that meeting in May.
Member Dugmore, as you are aware, the program is on the agenda. And on the 3rd of May,
have the opportunity. Sorry about that, yeah. No, there was just an incoming call. If we at that meeting could have the opportunity to discuss the program of action.
Okay, I'm just listening to Member Maseko in the House.
Chair, thank you very much. Like the practice, we're going to get the draft program and we're going to look at that, and then we will see the same principle of yesterday, the way we agreed, Member Dugmore, in the premiers. We will do the same principle in this committee to receive the draft program of the committee, and then we will look at that when we meet to discuss what will be populated on that program.
Member Dugmore, yes, in regard to Tuesday, the 3rd of May, we could add half an hour, like we have said yesterday, in that committee, standing committee. So we could add half an hour there and have the program, the draft program in front of us for discussion.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Sorry, members, there's something wrong with this mic in the chamber. So yes, we can do that on the 3rd, and then so that would revise our starting time on the 3rd. So just be mindful of that. Then in regard to this afternoon's meeting, the recommendations or resolutions of this meeting. Member Maseko?
I think one of the resolutions for today is that one that is already on the program of the minutes that we are adopting for the 3rd of March. So it doesn't have to reappear. That's my take on the resolutions today.
And as you are aware, members, the recommendations, resolutions will reflect in our minute and not in our report. So I'm going by member on the platform. Member Maran.
Chair?
Oh, I thought you left us.
No. I'm just here. I'm not participating because I'm not a full member. I'm just listening.
Okay, you participated the whole afternoon.
Yes, but you are dealing with the resolutions now.
You can give a resolution if you have one, a recommendation.
I leave that to the Honourable Dugmore.
Okay. Member Bosman.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, would it be possible for us to get a detailed breakdown of the municipalities in the province that has outstanding debt to Eskom and what that debt is at the moment? And also perhaps if the department could include in that report whether that debt was incurred by the current administration or the former administration prior to the local government elections. And then, Chairperson, if we could also get a presentation on the success and viability of the Community Development Workers Program as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Bosman. Member Dugmore.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, the issues which I recall was for, and I heard that in response to Member Moran's reminder about the legal opinion on whether it is lawful for municipalities to deduct money from electricity payments in lieu of other monies outstanding, that the department would be providing this committee with a legal opinion on that. MEC Bradell also agreed to give us a report on the status of land audits at the various municipalities. Obviously, we'll get to the date of all of this in a while. I think that if the report on the MPAC chairs across the province and which political parties chair those MPAC committees. And then also, I think we had requested in regard to the new function of the House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, if the department could just provide us with a time frame in regard to the process towards the actual establishment of a provincial House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, just a time frame in that regard. Then in regard to the Matsikama Mako seats, MEC Bradell indicated that those councillors who had been overpaid, the extra members of Mako, if we could have an updated report as to whether any payments by those councillors have been made and what is the outstanding amounts that they actually owe, a specific report on that. And then we were also, MEC Bradell committed to share the legal opinion in regard to the City of Cape Town. He said there was a senior council opinion on whether the City of Cape Town has the right not to respond to questions from members of this House directed via the MEC, that opinion. And that is basically it as far as I could recall in terms of requests for information. And I would propose in terms of a time frame, I think if you could remind us, Chair, of the time frame that we agreed yesterday in the Premier's Committee, I would support the same time frame. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Member Maseko.
I just want to ask, because when I listened to the minister, the issue of asking for a legal advice about the issue of the city for the question, was it the one that he said it's up to us if we want the legal advice from the parliament side of it, or was it to him? Because I was a little bit confused, but unfortunately I didn't. I heard when he was making a comment, it's up to us, can ask for a legal advice.
Member Baran, did you not hear that? Or
Yeah,
you can't hear? Yes?
Yes. Look, in a previous standing committee meeting, the HOD promised us that they will get a legal opinion. And it was based on that promise I've asked whether they have done that. So we have now, the MEC have said that we can if we want to, but it was based on what you have been promised. And now there's a commitment by the HOD that they will first internal opinion and then maybe a legal opinion. It was just based on a promise that was been made by the HOD. That's why I was asking. Thanks.
Chair, if I could also help on this one. I think there are two legal opinions being talked about here. The one that Member Moran has just referred to is the credit control policy, i.e. whether that one. That's what the HOD had promised previously and which he now agreed to do as per Member Moran. In regard to the other issue of, we would recall, members, that the City of Cape Town had written to the MEC saying that they do not feel that they are obliged to respond to our written questions. And then the MEC indicated that he had an opinion from senior counsel on that issue and that he would provide that to us. So that was a separate issue. So on Member Moran's issue, that was the issue where he said if we wanted an opinion. But I think that has now been resolved because the HOD said to Member Moran that he's going to give that opinion on the credit control issue. On the questions issue, the MEC promised to give us the senior counsel opinion.
Member Maseko.
Chair, I was still talking and then I got the remarks. So I think Member Cameroon captured what I was going to say, that there were two opinions.
Yeah, but you can still say what you wanted to say.
Yeah, so that's the one that we have to find out. So I wanted to find out from you, Chair, and Johan, that now since it was the question of the issue to the city, it's this committee that is going to ask the legal advice in using our legal advisors, or what is the step that we are going to take in the way forward to get the answers from the city. Minding again that on the program we said we are going to engage specifically about this issue again. So I feel like we are doubling up and taking decision in a different way. Are we going to wait for engaging about that issue and take the decision after engagement, or we are going to go for legal advice before we even engage? Because now on the program, we said we are going to engage to discuss this issue.
Okay. Maybe I can just come in there, sorry, Jan, before you. In regard to the Credit Control Act, we agreed upon that, to get that. In regard to what is the content on the draft program, we have also agreed that we will have a discussion on the content going forward, and we will have that discussion at our next meeting, which is scheduled for the 3rd of May. I even said that we'll add half an hour to it to discuss our content. Member Dangmo, as you are very aware, in regard to the content now, whose mic is on? In regard to the content now on the draft program, that is part of it, point 11. So I would want to say that let's discuss it when we get together on the 3rd of May, because we are discussing the content, but we're also discussing the time frames as to when we are discussing the content pointers on the draft program. So members, can we agree on that?
Your Chair, can I just say that I agree that it's on our program, but in today's meeting on the issue of the City of Cape Town and whether they are obliged to answer questions or not, the MEC said that he's got a senior counsel opinion on that. I think it will just help if we record in this meeting that that opinion is provided to the committee, so that when we do meet in May, we'll have the benefit of that opinion, because obviously that opinion informs, is part of informing us on a position as to whether we then need our own opinion or not. So that he said today, he's got an opinion on that one, on the issue of the City of Cape Town's, yeah.
I hear you, Member Dangmo. I'm noting Member Bosman. Jan, I will give to you now.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I was just going to ask if the procedural officer can perhaps assist us and ask whether that legal opinion has already been tabled to this committee. And I want to support the proposal by Honourable Maseko that before we request legal opinions from Parliament, that we actually get a briefing and we invite the city in the interest of cooperative governance. We invite the city as well as the department to perhaps give us their view as well and their understanding, because I think we have to be mindful, as the Minister says, local government is an independent sphere of government, and councillors also have certain responsibilities. And as political parties, we also have councillors in those councils. So we can also pose questions through those councillors as well. But I'd very much like for us to get the background first before we go and spend money on getting additional legal opinions. Thank you, Chair.
I hear you. I will now ask guidance from our procedural officer.
Thank you, Chairperson. Member Bosman actually summarized it actually perfectly. Chairperson, I think that would be the departure point. There is an opinion, there is a response that will flowing from the House sitting where questions were asked to Minister Bradell. I think once we receive that, we could ask our senior legal advisor from the Provincial Parliament to brief us on that, and then the committee can use that as a departure point going forward to see any other further discussions.
Thank you very much, members. Member Dangmo, is that a legacy hand?
No, Chair, no, I agree with what's been said. My issue is simply that in today's meeting, the MEC said he can provide the committee with that legal opinion. So I'm just asking if we can just get that legal opinion from, yeah.
That will become part of the documentation that we will receive in preparation.
Okay.
I will write to the department and just request clarity whether that was so and that we could receive it if it is so. Okay. Then members, I just want to ask in regard to one of the recommendations, and I don't know whether I latch it onto what Member Moran's recommendation is or Member Bosman's recommendations is. I'd just like to request that the department furnish us with a document stating whether there are any public representative that are in debt with any municipality where he or she resides. So I want to be furnished, that the committee be furnished with such a list. Thank you.
Chair?
Yes.
Is it expected from
Member Moran?
is it expected from public reps to resign if they are in arrears?
Member Moran, all I'm asking is the committee to be provided with a list of all public representatives that are in debt with the municipality where he or she resides.
Oh, you have not said resides. Sorry, Chair.
Resides. I said resides. So if I reside in the Bergrivier, I want to know whether I am in debt to the Bergrivier municipality.
Fully agree with you. Thanks very much. Now understands. Resides and not resign.
Yes, I did not say resign. I said reside.
Supported, Chair.
Waar ek woonagtig is. Member Bosman?
Chair, I just wanted to ask whether that includes councillors as well as MPLs and MPs, and then also just to alert Member Moran that most councils in this province have in their code of conduct that councillors are not allowed to be in arrears with their municipal bills. It is an automatic disqualification as a councillor.
It's not. Chair, it's not.
All public representatives, Member Bosman.
No, Chair, it's not.
Chair,
The law is also saying that
Member Moran, can I just speak here? We are still busy with a formal meeting.
So excited.
Member Moran, can I give you an opportunity?
Thanks, Chair. The Honourable Bosman is actually wrong. It's not an automatic disqualification. You can make an arrangement with a municipality. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I also then want to add, Member Moran, you have just reminded me of those, if there were public representatives or are public representatives who are indebted to their municipal statements, whether they have previously made arrangements and have defaulted on that same arrangement. Member Dugmore?
No, Chair. I'm just responding to the fact that Member Moran corrected Member Bosman on the facts, and also just to remind you, Chair, that Member Bosman talked without putting up his hand.
Actually, his hand was raised. Thank you, Member Dugmore. His hand was raised. Yes, he spoke while Member Moran spoke, and Member Moran spoke while Member Bosman spoke, but Member Bosman's hand was raised. I'm noting Member Maseko in the chamber.
Thank you very much. Chair, I think I have to be visual because now everyone that is in visual are recognized, and when they are done, is then that you can recognize me. So it seems the visual is beneficial to my colleagues and it's not beneficial to me. Can we go back to the resolutions so that we can finish the resolutions, please?
Member Maseko, apologies to you if that has happened. Do you still have a recommendation that you want to add?
I think that's all that will be captured.
All right. Member Bosman, I note your hand.
Thank you, Chairperson, and apologies for speaking out of turn earlier. I don't want to be reported to you again. Chair, I just wanted to add another resolution. If we could perhaps get an update on the implementation of the financial recovery plan for Beaufort West, and in terms of also other support provided to Beaufort West to make sure that that municipality gets out of the mess that it's in at the moment. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Member Bosman. I also want to add in regard to the indigent grants in our province, whether we have over the COVID period, over the last 2-3 years, whether we've had an increase in number of grant beneficiaries, and how is the evaluation done in order to take for those beneficiaries who don't need the indigent grant any longer, for them to come off the beneficiary list. I just want to understand that.
Chair?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm speaking with you, Member Dugmore.
Yes, Chair, just the issues raised by Member Moran around Kannaland, the amount of money that had been paid to the financial administrator of Kannaland over the term that he was employed, and at the same time, how many, how much money either in terms of capital allocations or operational allocations had been made to Kannaland by the provincial government over that period of time where the financial administrator was employed to be there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Members, I will ask Mr. Kutsia, our procedural officer. Members Bosman and Moran, is that now new hands? Or is it legacy hands?
It's a new hand for me, Chairperson.
Okay, go.
Chair, I'm sorry, I just reminded I've got a note in front of me. If we could also get a report on whether any criminal cases has been opened in the Beaufort West municipality against the municipality, specifically cases opened by the Green Scorpions with regards to failures in service delivery and in environmental mismanagement in that municipality, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Moran.
No, Chair, I'm actually covered by the Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you very much. Member Dugmore, is that a legacy hand?
It's a new one, hopefully the last one. Yes, also if the department can give us an update into the investigations of the mayoral candidate for the district council in the Karoo, who was also a director on the Melcote Fontaine Trust. They were alleged to have, while he was the MM, bought 30 properties from the municipality. So that's the Melcote Fontaine Trust investigation in Beaufort West. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is questions.
So, sorry, Chair, and with due respect, me being in the chambers. Now, I'm wondering, are we doing resolutions of the engagement today? Or
not all of it, no.
We want to have the issues that we want to populate or do the will of having a new, the annual report beforehand of having all that information, or what are we doing? Because I tend to believe that when we were going to engage on the 3rd of May, those are the things that we'll have to populate, maybe our program, discussing all those things. But what I'm listening to now, it's not about the resolutions of issues that we're talking about today. It's going beyond that. So I'm wondering that, are we going to finish today when we try to deal with each and every aspect of the department itself? But and I'm saying this with due respect to my colleagues. I respect them and I appreciate their passion in the Standing Committee of Local Government. But can we really do the resolutions and finish with the resolutions so that we can have a way forward, knowing that all this. Some of the issues is just the questions to the minister, that it can be a written question from a member to the department to get that information.
I note what you're saying, Member Maseko, but for this round, it will go through as we have requested now this afternoon. And I think that we have come to the end of the recommendations. Member Dugmore, your hand is still raised.
Yeah, and I just wanted to propose closure on the recommendations now. Thank you, Chair.
I just want to ask that we could put a timeline to it, to the end of April, for the information to be received by this committee. Member Dugmore?
Thanks, Chair. I had proposed the same deadline that we agreed on yesterday, which I think was just, literally at the, if I'm not mistaken, the end of April.
Yeah, it was. It was. Members, that brings me to thanking you for the engagement and for your availability to engage with the department. The Standing Committee meeting on the deliberation of the appropriation for Vote 14 local government. The Standing Committee meeting is now adjourned. I wish to extend my gratitude to our procedural officer and to our assistant procedural officer for the day. So thank you very much for all the logistics that has gone into making this meeting happen. Members, please go well and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and to the committee, the coordinators, thank you.